Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it here with us on NACTV. I'm Eoin Devereux with the Banner Press, welcoming you as always to our program. And joined this week, it's very good that you were able to tune in to this week's edition. It's a historic edition of the Banner Press. For the first time, maybe for the last time, we'll see how it goes. Our newest reporter for the Banner Press, Joshua Jackson, is in with us this week. Josh, good to have you here.
Hey, let me just start off by saying it's such a thrill to be back here in my hometown, getting to do what I love and writing stories that are important to me. And I just, it's been a while since I've been back, so it's just nice to blend into the community and be back here talking about the stuff that I think that matters.
That's right. But before we get into the stuff that we think matters, we're going to talk a little bit with Josh. Just give us a quick 30-second, 45-second history of where you're coming from and a little bit of your experience.
Oh, of course. So, hi, everyone. Again, my name is Joshua, last name Jackson. Yes. That hasn't changed in the 30 seconds. But let me tell you, I graduated here from NACI in 2016. I attended Assiniboine Community College, formerly called Media Arts Program. Graduated from that, was at Portage Online doing radio and journalism for a stint. And then recently, I just wrapped up some time with the Manitoba Métis Federation, the national government of the Red River Métis, and I came back down along Highway 16, and now I'm back here at the Neepawa Banner Press.
That's right, back home once again to the Neepawa area and the Neepawa Banner Press. So far it's been working out pretty good, but we'll see how that plays out.
Hasn't fired me yet.
Maybe we'll get sick of him sooner rather than later, or maybe he'll get sick of us sooner rather than later. Place your bets right now. Let's get into the news section, and as always, best place to start is on the front page. We got two very important stories for our community, but in very different manners. First off, of course, we've got the announcement. It's a story that was covered by Casper Werhan about a mini park, a pocket park, is how they're also known in some communities, that is going to be established right here in downtown Neepawa. The location is going to be right next to the Gillen Schmall building. If you are a resident of Neepawa or you come into the community on a regular basis, you know exactly where I'm talking about. That little open stretch there. Not much of anything has really been happening with that for the longest time. So I think it's fantastic that somebody came forward with the concept and the idea of creating something beautiful for our core. Joshua, let me throw to you though. As you've said, you've been in other communities, you've been in Portage, whose downtown, shall we say, is not beautiful. We'll just say that. You know, it could be prettier.
They've been doing work, yeah. But definitely ain't no Neepawa, that's for sure.
Let me get your take on the fact that they're doing something like this in the community like this. What's your throw on this?
Oh, I definitely think it's huge and it's massive. Not only to have more green space in our downtown in a spot that isn't being used, I think is absolutely fantastic. Plus, it's also a park that's accessible to everyone, and that is obviously a big need so that everyone can come in here and enjoy our beautiful community.
Having said that, though, we are just on the very preliminary stages of what's going to be happening with this pocket park. Don't be going down there a month from now during May long weekend and expecting you can have a picnic down there. Well, you can, but it ain't going to be as pretty as it's going to be. There's still some work that needs to be done. There's fundraising efforts that need to be looked after, volunteers to help with cleanup in the area, and of course, the rehabilitation of the grounds and all that. This is a project that's probably, before we see it really come to a very beautiful fruition, it's probably about a year away right now, maybe a touch longer, but it's still wonderful that people see something out of nothing and want to put something there. So it's something I'm very proud to be able to have on our front page for this week's paper. Before we shift over, Josh, anything else you want to say about that?
Yeah, of course. Maybe you're thinking, wow, this is such a great cause. How can I help? And this is kind of near and dear to my heart because I love donuts. They're actually doing a Krispy Kreme donut sale fundraiser that's underway, and the fundraiser will benefit both the Pocket Park and Arts Forward. So if you love donuts, have you ever had Krispy Kreme, by the way?
I've never had Krispy Kreme brand, no.
Oh, you're missing out. They are, sorry Tim Hortons, some of the top tier donuts, and I will die on that hill. So it's a win-win for everyone. Good donuts and helping out the local community.
Okay, you're not exactly selling it. I will die on that hill from donuts. So the donuts are going to kill you? Is that what you're saying
No,
here?
I'm just saying that I prefer Krispy Kreme donuts to Tim Hortons.
I'm sorry, I don't want any of your murder donuts, all right? Okay. I want some good, old-fashioned, all Canadian donuts owned by a Brazilian company.
Fair enough.
But no, that is a wonderful fundraiser as well. And if you want to get the details on that, that's why you got to pick up a copy of the Banner Press and read this story for yourselves. Always remember, it's within 30 communities throughout Western Manitoba. You can get a physical copy of the Banner Press. And if you're not able to get that, always remember, it goes live on our website, neepawabanner.com. Once again, online at neepawabanner.com.
And Eoin, let me just add, we've also been crushing it in the content these last few weeks. We've had some big issues, 24 plus pages in the last months of issues. So we are really doing some great work in here, and we hope that you get a copy and read it today.
And we're only able to do that because of the support that we get from you. It is always appreciated, the support we get for the Banner Press and the support we get for NACTV. Let's shift over slightly on the front page. This is a story near and dear to you, Josh. You were able to cover it. And it is, in fact, near and dear to me. Reverend Chad McCharles, I've known for many years. Had many conversations with him. He's been a real asset, he and his family, to the community of Neepawa. But unfortunately for us, but very fortunately for him and his family, and for the province of Saskatchewan, a new opportunity is presenting itself, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, and it is very thrilling here as I get my pages in order, but essentially he will be moving to Saskatoon as he is now the Bishop of the Anglican Diocese in Saskatoon, which, by the way, if you don't know, that's a really big important title.
That is, very much so. And obviously, a community such as Saskatoon, if you've ever been to Saskatchewan, if you've ever been to Saskatoon, it's been a few years since I've been there, but it's a nice mid-sized city type thing. Larger than Brandon, a little smaller than Winnipeg, obviously, but very nice. And I'm very much looking forward to them having that opportunity. And Joshua, you had the chance to speak with him about his experiences here in Neepawa, what the community has meant for him, and this new endeavor. What was your takeaway from that?
Well, the thing that I personally took away from this is that it was a very, in a sense, rare circumstance. As we see in the article, he would get the life-altering news after the diocese in Saskatoon convened for the election, and he ended up winning on the first vote, which he said is actually very rare to have happen. And you may be wondering, what does this new position entail for him? Well, let me tell you, he will be serving the geographical region spanning from the province of Saskatchewan, just south of Prince Albert to between Saskatoon and Regina. So he is picking up a very important role, and I can't think of a better person from our community to go out and represent.
That's right. And again, our loss is Saskatoon's gain.
Mm-hmm.
Having known Chad for several years since I moved here just over a decade ago, and he and his family came back here, if I remember correctly, I think it may have been 8 or 7 years ago. The initial sort of introductory story we did on him is one that I did, if I remember correctly, in fact. Got to know him through there on a personal level and professional level as well. Very much, he's been a positive, the family, a complete and utter positive, the community. And I'm not a religious person. If you're a consistent and loyal viewer of the show, you know that. But I am, to a degree, a spiritual person, and I'm very appreciative of him and some of the guidance he's been able to give, even to a person who is not, quote-unquote, religious, such as myself, through the years. So I wish him well. He's not going to be gone tomorrow, don't worry. But, he will be moving on to bigger and better. And we are very proud to be able to sort of share that experience and share that journey with you in this week's edition. All right, let's
move on to our next session. Eoin, you know what I'm smelling in the air here recently? It's election season, and boy, oh boy, is it ramping up here. And I believe we have some candidates that have declared for the Riding Mountain riding.
That's right. If you look into this week's edition of the Banner Press, you're going to see a page with some updates in regards to some of the proposed candidates for the newly christened. This is going to be the first federal election in which we are no longer Dauphin, Swan River, Neepawa riding. We are the Riding Mountain riding. And since we've also got a provincial district called Riding Mountain, that's not going to get confusing anytime soon.
No.
But Riding Mountain, and we have some of the candidates. We should note, I'm going to bring this up for you right now. When we went to print, it was on Wednesday, and we had all the information from all the national websites and all the federal bodies and parties. And as of Wednesday, our deadline, it was Doonan McKinnon, I believe, if I remember correctly, who has run in this riding before as representative for the People's Party, was the representative who was going to run once again for the People's Party. So imagine our surprise when we open it up this morning, as we record this on Friday, April 4th, and Jim Oliver now will be the, I shouldn't say official, because the deadline is Monday. Who knows? Come in Monday, maybe it'll be a third person. Might be me, probably not. But it might be somebody else. But as of this moment, as we record, Jim Oliver will be the candidate for the People's Party of Manitoba. So that's an unfortunate reality of trying to get the news out to you as promptly as possible, but at the same time sort of getting it as informative and as correct as possible. The information we had at that time was correct. And I don't feel so bad about it for the pure simple reason of the Brandon Sun also went with it, as did the Winnipeg Free Press. So even the big guys, sort of got caught on this, and both of those are dailies. So, that's the way it is. But that's why you've always got to pick up a copy of the Banner Press, because next week's edition, we will have the same candidate-style profile for Jim Oliver as we had with all the candidates we have in this week's edition. And I've sort of gone on long enough. Let me throw to you then, and you can sort of give us, we don't have to go through the entire profile, but just a quick snapshot of who we believe is going to be running in Riding Mountain.
Oh, of course, we have a wonderful slate of candidates this year. Let's start it off with the Conservative Party. Incumbent Dan Mazur throwing his hat in the ring again. No surprise there. He was elected as a member of Parliament in 2021, and then he was appointed to the Pierre Poilievre Shadow Cabinet as the Minister for Rural Economic Development and Connectivity. When we take a look at the Liberal Party of Canada, we have Terry Hayward. Hayward has a 33-year career in agriculture work with the Government of Canada, and he's lived and worked in places like Brandon, Regina, Winnipeg, and Ottawa. He currently lives east of Winnipeg on a farm and is a substitute teacher. Taking a look here at the Green Party candidate, Liz Clayton. She's been involved with the federal Green Party for many years, having served of the CAO of the Portage-Lisgar Green Party Association. She currently works for the Prairie Spirit School Division as an education assistant, and also has experience in arts administration, spent many years in campus, community, and commercial media. And one thing I would also like to circle back on as well is the new Riding Mountain District. So, in case you care to know, the district includes 51,479 square kilometers, and the population of this district is around 90,000. Some of the communities include Swan River, Dauphin, Russell, Roblin, Neepawa, Minnedosa, Rivers, and also the North Norfolk, Westlake Gladstone, and North Cypress Langford municipalities. So quite a chunk of area there.
What's kind of interesting as well, even to piggyback on those comments that you just made, Joshua, as well, is that Liz Clayton is new to the riding. With the change in the name of Riding Mountain, it also came with a slight change in the borders for it as well. And she is much closer to the Portage-la Prairie area. And if we were in the previous election, most likely she would have been a candidate out of Portage-la Prairie for the Green Party. But now with this slight tweak, she's now into ours and will be the candidate for the Green Party here. And one other item as well, as Joshua had shared, with the Liberal candidate, Terry there, coming in just east of Winnipeg. That's what's known to many, and if you don't know this phrase, it's used by a lot of us in the industry here as a parachute candidate. Now what that means is the candidate is not per se from the area. They're sort of brought in and parachuted in. Now you might think that does have a negative connotation, and my opinion, not the opinion of NACTV, not the opinion of the Banner Press, not the opinion of Josh, but maybe, and maybe not your opinion. But in my opinion, I hate the concept of a parachute candidate coming in. Someone who's not from the area, who doesn't understand the issues of the community, of the region, just dropped in to have a name on the ballot. Having said that, I've actually looked into Mr. Hayward's resume, and it is relatively impressive in terms of administrative, leadership, business, and I'll be honest with you, my reaction off camera was, what is a candidate with that decent of a history and resume doing getting dropped in here? Why don't they drop them in a riding where there's more of a chance, more of an opportunity for a Liberal candidate? Because let's be honest, just between you and me, all right, you know, we kind of lean relatively blue in this riding.
Spoiler alert.
Don't tell anybody that, but historically we've kind of leaned a little bit blue. Although that blue has been getting lighter and lighter in every single election. So you can't take things like that for granted. But I found it interesting, Josh, that a candidate with that sort of pedigree was being dropped in here like this. What do you think that does for the election? Do you think that could create a little bit of action?
You know, I find that really interesting because, as you have pointed out, this has been a historically blue riding, but I think he definitely has the agriculture sense, and that is definitely such a huge topic in this election with all the incoming tariffs and stuff. So I share your sentiments. I agree. He looks very qualified, but I don't know if this is the right region. I mean, we will see what happens on April 28th when the election happens, but it's just almost a very intriguing choice for me, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Liberal Party campaigns and gets it across in this historically blue riding.
It's going to be very interesting, and that's why you've always got to pick up a copy of the Banner Press, because in the weeks leading up to this federal election, we're going to do everything we can to get interviews with each and every candidate. Even the only one that isn't officially declared right now, that we have no idea who it is the NDP candidate. For all I know, it's me. Who knows? Probably not, but we'll see.
I'd endorse you.
Man, I jumped from the People's Party to the NDP pretty quick there.
Hey.
Man, that was quite the shift.
Yeah. Man, get in 10 minutes here on the camera, and I've radically changed your viewpoints, I guess.
You made some proper points, I must say. So look for me on the ballot for the Communist Christian Heritage Left-Right Party.
Wonderful.
That is probably a real thing somewhere in Canada.
I think you'd make a good Rhinoceros Party candidate. I think we need to bring that party back.
Well, who knows? That's the wonderful thing about the Canadian election process, is that we do have more than two choices. Obviously much better than having more than one choice as well, but that's the part of it. Like, stay tuned as well. For some of the updates from this federal election.
Now, Eoin, speaking of elections, one of the big issues on people's minds are tariffs. And this week, we had a visit to Neepawa from the Manitoba Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Chuck Davidson. And he was here to talk tariffs with the Neepawa Chamber of Commerce. Now, Eoin, what can you tell me about that?
I can tell you nothing about that because I wasn't there. But fortunately, our owner, operator, and editor, Ken Waddell, was there in multiple capacities, and he was able to put together that story and share it with us. Chuck Davidson, of course, a representative, sharing some of the details, informing some of the businesses about some of the pits and pratfalls that may occur due to this tariff situation between Canada and the United States, and quite honestly, in the last 24 to 48 hours, between the United States and everybody. Every single nation on the planet apparently has got tariffs on it right now. There is a lot of uncertainty and a lot of of fear and anxiety right now from a business standpoint about what these things could do. It's wonderful that Chuck Davidson saw the value of not just sticking around in Winnipeg, not just going to Brandon, not just going to Steinbach, the big centers of Manitoba, and sharing information with business leaders from those regions. It's great to see that he saw value in coming out to smaller communities such as Neepawa and sharing that insight. That's something that we should not take for granted. So Ken was there as a business owner, but then after the fact, he had a few minutes to speak with Chuck as a reporter. And we definitely appreciate that he sort of took off his one hat and put on his other hat and was able to get the details, which you can find on page 2 of this week's edition of the Banner Press. Is there anything you want to chip in on the tariff uncertainty before we move on?
Oh, of course. As you know, I always have something prepared. So the one thing that I was actually very fascinated by this article is, according to Davidson, Manitoba sends about $18 billion worth of goods to the U.S., while the U.S. buys $18 billion in goods to the U.S. and we buy about $21 billion worth of goods from the U.S. As someone who is not a trade expert by any means, I just found those numbers surprising. And don't worry, if you like hearing more about tariffs and all that talk, we will have even more in the next week edition of the Neepawa Banner Press. Spoiler alert, as we talk more tariffs, and we had a chance to hear from Premier Wab Kinew about the agricultural sector.
You know what's kind of interesting about those numbers you threw out there is that of the number coming into Canada from the U.S., 75% of it is just us going over the border and shopping at Target. So, maybe that'll change in the next couple weeks there. Maybe people won't be going as many times as often down to Bismarck and down to Minneapolis. We'll see how that plays out. All right, let's get a little closer to home. Quit worrying about national and international things. Let's talk about right here, right now in Neepawa. This is a story I'm very glad and had been eagerly anticipating being able to share with you. And I'm able to do it this week, in that the nurses program from Assiniboine College, we've talked about it so many times in the paper and right here on the Story Behind the Stories, is going to return again in January 2027. The one we have right now, it was a 1 year sort of, or one time, 2 year term, see how things worked out. There was no guarantees whatsoever that they would make their return. But they announced early in the week that they would be doing so, and that they would be coming to Neepawa once again and establishing themselves, expanding out actually into Steinbach. So it is wonderful to see the amount of success for this nurses program, and it expanding not just for Western Manitoba, but for all of Manitoba.
Oh, of course, we're always going to need nurses. It's a highly in-demand trade, and that's great that they are offering the programs. Now, practical nursing is actually Assiniboine's single largest program and is currently being delivered across 11 communities across Manitoba. Now, with that 1 year hiatus, you might be thinking, what's going to happen in that space? Well, we had the fortunate chance to interview Mayor Brian Headley, and he said that the end of the course is set for January 26th, and they are going to be working out a few ideas of how the space can be used in that little lapse in time.
Well, that is wonderful to hear. They're going to try and figure something out for us here. So very appreciative that we were able to get that information. We're a little short on time, so we're going to change things up a little bit since we got Joshua right here. We're going to put him on the spot here. We're going to shift things up, and we're going to talk about your story about the NAISS collaboration.
Yes.
Now, I got to admit, again, not being an extremely religious individual, I don't know much about that, but you can fill me in on the blanks right now, can't you?
Oh, of course. I would absolutely love to, Owen, and not only because it is my job to. So the Neepawa and Area Immigration Settlement Services, they are embarking on a new partnership with local church, the Calvary Chapel. So basically, this proposed collaboration calls for churches and the Neepawa Area Immigration Settlement Services, that's a tongue twister, to work together and support newcomers and make sure they have resources provided to them, as well as the such as language courses, job opportunities, housing programs, and other local resources. And it's also a very great way to build community with the newcomers and people who have been established here. So I think that is a very good opportunity. And as well, this is not just a single church partnership. They are hoping that they can partner with even more churches around the community, as well as in Gladstone and Plymouth. So I think that's a very wonderful opportunity to connect us all.
That is really nice to be able to hear and to be able to share with you. Many of our new arrivals to Neepawa are, I've found, historically very spiritual individuals and families, have an affinity for religion, believe it is something of value to their lives. It's wonderful to sort of see that added to our community. So for this to be able to sort of help them segue in a more natural way for them and theirs, I think is going to be a real positive for the area. And we're going to see exactly how that plays out over the weeks, months, and God willing, years. All right, we only got a minute or two left. That's why we wish we had more time to be able to go through all these different things. But that's always why you got to remember to pick up a copy of the Banner Press. As I said, 30 different communities throughout Western Manitoba or online at neepawa.com. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about Casper's story, about the nominee program here, the pitch that was made in Neepawa recently. We didn't even get to go through everything for your farm. Our weekly or bi-weekly feature in the months of March and April, and we didn't get a chance to do a wrap-up on the Neepawa Titans, as their season has unfortunately come to a close, but it's quite honestly something we should still as a community be proud of what they accomplished.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of their biggest, most winningest seasons in years. So, I mean, absolutely huge to see what Coach Ken has done to this program and the culture he's creating. And I'm very excited to see that blossom more so than it already has in the next few years.
And I'm sure you are going to see it. I mean, you're going to see it as covering it for the Neepawa Banner Press, and you're going to see it most likely as a volunteer for NAC TV.
That's
I know
true.
You've already done one or two little stints as a color man for the hockey games, so hopefully you'll still be able to do that from time to time.
Oh, it's so exciting. And being in college and doing it, to coming back to be able to serve the Titans and do that, feels like I have not skipped a beat. So yet again, I cannot stress, it's so lovely to be back here and just to see old friends, make new acquaintances, and just be able to help and serve my community. And
once again, I'm sorry I got to cut you off here. We're running short. Always remember, if you have any story ideas, you can contact us at the Neepawa Banner Press at 476-3401 or at news@neepawabanner.com. That pretty much wraps it up for this week. So for Joshua, I'm Eoin. Have a great week.